It was a hot night in Miami, and I heard the president was coming to town. So I decided to pack up my gear and head over there and see what was up. I walked among the protesters from both sides, a lot of profanity and craziness. And then I headed down because I really wanted to get a shot of the motorcade arriving at the place where the president was going to speak. I sat on the corner with the other press people, local news and some national. And the Secret Service came over and asked me where my credentials were, and I said they were back at the hotel. But in truth, I don't have any because I'm an independent journalist. So he and a police officer told me I had to leave. I said, no, I'm not going to leave. They said, do this. I said, I'm not doing that. It's my right, blah, blah. And I ended up arrested by a lieutenant and thrown in the back of a squad car, handcuffed. I stayed there for about an hour and a half, and all of a sudden the lieutenant came up and let me go. And not only did he let me go, but he offered me a sparkling water, guava flavored. And not only that, but he said, I'm going to do you a solid. And he walked me back to the corner where I'd been detained and told me it was cool. I could watch the motorcade leave. And that was great for me because I love motorcades. The strangest thing about it was the next day I met the lieutenant for lunch, and he had a lot to say. Yeah, how did the mask affect your ability to judge somebody?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you're missing half of someone's face, so it makes it harder to hear each other. Maybe they don't hear your commands. Maybe you're not hearing their reply. There's something definitely lost there through having a mask on. That's for sure. But now that the stakes are high, and then what I was driving at though is now it seems to be the norm rather than the exception that you can give a police officer a hard time just to give him a hard time, and it's all about why did you have no right to stop me, and then the next thing you know, a phone call is made, video cameras come out, and it turns into something that it never needed to be. Maybe it was just, hey, I just want to make sure your license is good, you'll be on your way.
Right. So how was it last night when I was belligerent to you? How did that make you feel? Or what were you thinking?
My concerns weren't even about you. It was about my particular job. At that time, I was in charge of the entire event. Yeah. And we have 400 plus protesters a block away. I've got the President of the United States trying to come through. I've got just random people milling about, residents that live there. I have about 80 officers that I have to be concerned about their well-being in maybe a 1 square mile area. I had a lot on my plate, and I had ordered an officer we had a secure zone where only media personnel were allowed, and we didn't want, because it was so close to where the presidential motorcade would be passing, and we had strict orders from the Secret Service that no unauthorized persons were to be in that area. And so I told one of the officers that if anybody was not media or didn't have credentials, that they could not be there. Simply, they could not be there. And so she let me know, and she's a good officer, that somebody was giving them a hard time and wasn't leaving. And I had just dealt with arresting 8 other protesters who were being extremely violent. And so we could say that several hours into loud bullhorns screaming F the police and just being really violent for no reason, and just the stress of all of that, hours and hours, not necessarily hours and hours, I don't want to exaggerate, about 3 hours worth of that is enough to wear on a person. And so, like it could happen with anyone, we're humans, patience runs thin.
Well, plus I was being belligerent. I mean, it's not like I was an innocent party here, I gotta say.
Right. If I had all the time in the world and all the patience in the world, we could sit down for 2 hours and talk about it. Right. But time is of the essence. I got a presidential motorcade coming through. I've got a lot of other things to worry about. So it comes a point in time where if someone's told, you cannot be here legally and lawfully, I'm giving you a direct order that you need to move somewhere. And in our case, it was 15 feet. I was asking for 10 or 15 feet. And it came to a head, and it's like, well, you know what? The faster, simpler, most efficient way to handle this is if you don't leave, if you don't take 15 steps back and get behind the line, then I have no choice but to arrest you because I can't sit here and debate this all day.
Yeah, it's not like you have a lot of time to think about it.
Yeah, and then not to say someone's right has something to do with time, but it's sometimes it's not an easy call to make. But I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. And how do you feel about us getting together today and getting to know each other a little bit?
I feel great about it. I feel great about it. Yeah, this is me.
Right.
You know, everyone wears different hats.
Yeah.
But people seem to forget that police are humans. We are humans. We're your neighbors. We're fathers. There was a point in time where you said, I have kids. And I'm like, I have kids. And they want me home right now.
Yeah,
it's freaking stressful. I'm trying to be a father. I'm trying to command, take command of the scene. It's very stressful, you know. That's why it really hurts me when people say F the police and they just broad stroke us that we're all evil. That like we're basically dehumanize us, and it's crazy. And I'm not saying we're all perfect. There's bad apples in every bunch, that's for sure. But you could say the same about any profession. And so, but it's unfortunate, you know, one guy royally screws up, and then we all have to pay for it. So, and it's not helping. The things that are happening out there are not helping the situation, right? But it's now becoming the norm to resist arrest. Resisting arrest does not lead to anything good for anybody. Officers get hurt, puts them under tremendous stress. And you could be just trying to protest what you think are your rights. But yes, I agree. You know, I'm definitely believe in limited government and the right of the people. And yes, people have rights, especially in this country. And we always forget too, like, what the call did that officer just come from? What's going on in that officer's mind? Like, you know, people have bad days. And it's not to make excuses. It's just why don't poke an angry bear. Again, we can get all the training in the world. You can't train the human out of a police officer. And so oftentimes we're responding to calls like domestic violence situations. They're the worst. People are at their worst. They are enraged. The jealousy, hatred, anger. And then we have to come in and try to be the peacekeepers. And you know, maybe you're not out. Maybe you didn't get a full night's sleep because you were forced to work a protest the night before. If you see someone getting hot, whether it's on a protest line or on any call, it's our job to I call it the whoa man. Be the whoa man or girl. Hey, take it easy. Take a break. Go smoke a cigarette. Go have a coffee. We got it. Maybe they're having a bad day. You know, and that can happen on a violent call where stress is high and a lot of yelling back and forth. It could also happen on a horrible incident where maybe a car crash and you know, this has happened. It happens. It happens a lot, unfortunately. Horrific car crashes where a minivan filled with a family and none of them survive. And you can imagine what that looks like. And that hits different people differently. Some people are able to, you know, let me switch that up a little bit. Maybe many of the occupants don't survive, but one or two could be saved. And maybe the car's about to catch on fire, and even though you're seeing an infant that you can just picture what maybe a horrific car crash would look like, and you got an infant that is lying dead. Do you want to focus in on that and cry about it? Or do you want to get to work and save the 3-year-old that's trapped underneath? And while that's going on, you know, we're supposed to act like robots and make it happen, and we do, and we make it happen. And then maybe when the dust settles, and the 3-year-old's getting taken to the hospital, and now we have to start worrying about, you know, roping off the scene and doing other things, traffic control. Some people break down. You know, is that okay if an officer cries in the middle of that? How are you going to direct traffic if you're bawling your eyes out? So that person's got to get pulled off the line and, hey, take a break. But they don't go home. They suck it up. They write the report. They may have to describe in detail what they saw. It's horrible. So that's the other side. Now imagine when that crash is finished, and that call is finished. Back to my other point. Maybe that was their first call of the day.
You just got to keep going.
You got 10 more calls or 20 more calls, depends how busy the place you work is. And they finish that call, and their very next call is another whopper. And that whopper might be, who knows what. Could be anything. Could be that on their way to the next call, they see that person run the stop sign, almost run somebody over by accident, but they have to stop and investigate, and then they're confronted with aggression on top of what they just witnessed. And you know, it just, you can see how it can spiral out of control quickly. So
Wow, it's intense.
yeah, it's tough. People don't get it.